Hey everybody and welcome back. Tyler here with Tyler Talks, and in today's video I wanted to walk you through what it's like signing up to become a dasher for DoorDash. And no, this is not a sponsored video. So I'm going to walk through signing up and then what it's like actually delivering the orders and share a screenshot or two of essentially my earnings to maybe help you figure out, is this a viable option for you? Now, before we get started, a couple of things to note. Firstly, this is going to be subjective because it's going to depend on a wide range of factors. DoorDash is heavily dependent on tips. So if you get deals or promotions, DoorDash may offer for specific times or days. You'll get added bonuses. So there's really no way to know exactly how much you could make today versus tomorrow versus next week. So it is a little bit unpredictable there, which is why I hope people watching this video that have done DoorDash could really let me know in the description or in the comment box below what your thoughts were and your overall experience. So let's jump straight in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, so I'm going to look down at my phone a bit because I have some notes. So first up is the actual experience signing up. So when you sign up for DoorDash, you do need to notify your insurance, which could increase premiums. But for me specifically, on the dashing itself, I had an active time of 2 hours, 28 minutes, a dash time of 3 hours, 17 minutes with 8 completed orders. So when you're going through and breaking this down, I did it over 2 days, 3 separate, we'll just say dashing periods. Now, the total that I got was $51.09 for that period. I don't believe I had any major promotions or deals, so that amount could be more or less. But a couple of things to note with my overall experience. So I signed up, it took about a day for the background check. And then you're immediately in the app and able to access instructional videos or a video, which walks you through the process. Then you click Start Dashing. You may be able to dash immediately. You may have to schedule it out. And then essentially, it's pretty simple. You show up at a restaurant, snap a picture of the receipt, take the product to the customer, take a picture, and you're done. Now, there's a couple of things here when it comes to actually showing up and the payments. So you can get a payment through their kind of like debit card, which has a gas incentive, but a lot of people I'm sure are just going to do direct deposit. Now, there is another thing to note because you aren't making a ton of money when you factor in things like gas, wear and tear on your car, etc. But one thing I really wanted to make sure to highlight here is if you're managing this well and you're doing the tax deductions and everything else, it will be more beneficial for you in the long run as long as you're doing it the legal, ethical, moral way. Now, with that being said, I don't think most people are going to go through the tax deduction process and kind of validate all of that, but it is something you may want to look into. Now, when you go through the process, one of the concerns I have with DoorDash, so there are 3 specific metrics that they are going to essentially grade you on. So you start out, I started and I got my first 50 orders as priority, which is basically saying, hey, we're going to act like you have good metrics and you can take advantage of perks people with good metrics have. So those metrics are going to be things like timeliness of orders, acceptance rate, and then also your ratings in general from the customers. So that usually incentivizes you to accept orders even if the payment is relatively low because you want to keep getting priority orders, but also to do things like message the customer and say, hey, I'm waiting for your order, things of that nature. Now, in my experience, it was pretty common for restaurants not to be done with the order when I first arrived, which can make you a bit concerned about the timeliness aspect. And DoorDash says that they put buffers in place. But the idea here is when I think about things like, is an order correct? Now, DoorDash or the restaurants will typically seal bags and things of that nature. I like that from a customer perspective because you don't want people to mess with your food. But if you want to verify what's in the order, then you have to tear the bag open in front of an employee, make sure everything's there, and have them reseal it and remake anything if it's missing. Because of that, you're more likely to want to just grab the order, go to the customer, and risk the bad review for an item missing. So that was one thing that I think is a little bit odd overall. But I get it. I mean, it makes sense. You kind of have to balance metrics just like you would in a working environment. Now, another thing that you're going to want to consider is going to be things like GPS, data usage on your phone. There's a variety of different factors. So you could think about things like gas. Are you going to start out in a hotspot or at your house? So a hotspot is basically an area typically near restaurants where you're more likely to get good orders. You can have a DoorDash running when you're not in a hotspot and still get orders, but the hotspots, basically, think about it this way. Order comes in, you're right next to the restaurant, much easier for you, easier for them. So the thing here is, do you want to drive 15 minutes to a hotspot? Think about your overall journey. You drive there for 15 minutes, then you wait, pick it up, take it to the customer. That's maybe a 15-minute drive. Do you drive back to the hotspot or to another area? Does an order come in? The point here is driving for longer periods of time is more likely to be beneficial for you, especially during peak hours, because if you're just making 1 or 2 trips, which again, 15 minutes from you to the restaurant, 15 to the customer, and then if you want to go back home, that's potentially a 45, 55-minute trip. That's about an hour. And you might not even make technically minimum wage depending on the order itself and when you factor in gas and all of that. So it's very heavily dependent on a lot of different factors. You don't want to reject all the low orders because then your acceptance rate goes down. But at the same time, you want to do what you can to really do this process right. And I think that the biggest benefit is during those peak periods. And again, maybe even traveling to areas where they have those hotspots and zones that are a little bit more intuitive when it comes to that route planning piece. So overall, it's a really easy process, really easy to get started, really easy to go through everything, but there are some things to consider when it comes to total costs, round trip, the amount of time it takes, things of that nature. So I'd love to know your thoughts and your experience. Let me know in the comment box below, and I will see you all in the next video.